Thank you. Take these masks off. Well, it's Ash Wednesday, so happy Ash Wednesday. So many of us got you got sort of the designer one there, Tommy, right? Ours was the smudge one, caramel, Father White. So I'm here with, I call him the Wizard of Oz, Patrick Sullivan, Director of Facilities and longtime park superintendent, has done wonderful work. He has been my point person and on these dam improvements that we have done. My Chief of Staff, Tommy Ash, and again, I really want to thank, it's great to see Nick and Judy Ferrantino. I went to school with their daughter Ann at Kiley Junior High School. Mr. Kalmbach, I went to school with kids at Kiley Junior High School also. And I see many familiar faces that are here. And so I really appreciate being with you. The quick thing on our dams. This first came about, Pat being very, very proactive. The Van Horn Dam up in Hungry Hill, but in the shadow of the Van Horn Dam is Bay State Medical Center. The only triage area or first response triage area in Western Massachusetts. And if that dam was ever to go, that water would wipe out Atwater, Bay State, down the north end. We took care of that with federal money. Richie helped us out, state money, city money, we did that. Fast forward, we were dealing with a number of natural and man-made disasters. The tornado, the freak nor'easter, and go on and on. But we dealt with, in that year or 2 years, 5 or 6 natural and man-made disasters. I'm so proud, not only of the residents' business, but my team, from cabinet heads down to rank and file, tested and true. And what happened is that we applied for a grant, resiliency grant. We are the only, from what I understand, the only standalone city in the United States of America that received that $17.8 million because how we handle these natural and man-made disasters. In turn, Patrick's legwork, something had to be done with the Watershops Pond, Lake Massasoit. If that ever went, that would start to take out Maple High 6 corners, and south end would be flooded underground. Now, some might remember that many years ago, the flood of 19, I think it was 55, and then there was a flood down north, in the south end, 38 down there. So Patrick moved to make sure that we're able to use those funds, and again, we used with Richie helping us out, Congressman Neal, Chairman Neal, on the federal level, state, and local money to make sure that we were able to secure that. It will come back. The lake will come back, so I want you to be prepared to have your bathing suits. We're going to take a dip in there. And we're also doing stuff, that was a tornado-ravaged area, working with Springfield College, New Brookings. We're doing energy efficiency activities there with solar and water power on that. But this is a proactive stuff. I know you go by it all the time, you go, what's going on here? And Patrick's going to tell you about some of the wildlife, some of the other things. And then we also did something where Governor Baker helped us out tremendously at Forest Park. The main entrance of Forest Park, the gully was going, and it was going to collapse. And the governor came about $2 or $3 million, helped us out to get that done. But when we went, we literally went down there once it was drained, and we found you had the old, of course, license plate files, but in Watershops Pond there was cars. That can go into there left and right what was found on it. But I have to, I'm going to stay for a little while. I have a public safety meeting at 3 o'clock downtown at City Hall, so I'm going to have to leave. I always enjoy coming up here, and I remember the days when Mrs. Forestieri, Sylvia, was up there. I used to call her a peekaboo girl. And rest her soul. Was anybody in that, the commercial? Remember the commercial with the old Cadillac? And they would drive around. Were you in that commercial too? Are you still getting residual checks on that or no? So to each and every one of you, first of all, I wish you and your families good health, and the holidays are coming around now with Easter and other holidays. And I always love coming up here, and I like to come back up again where we can have a few laughs, make and entertain some questions. But now, I want to turn it over, and I call him the Wizard of Oz, because Pat knows how to make things happen. I see Mrs. Manzi shaking her head there, and you know that very well. So let's give him a warm Massasoit Lake welcome. Patrick Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor. And it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. But before I go into the project, I just want to take the opportunity to thank Mayor Sarno. I've been with the city 37 years starting in May, and these were high hazard dams when I started, and it took 7 mayors to get to this point. So Mayor Sarno, can-do mayor, gets it done. So thank you, Mayor, for listening to me complaining and giving me the money to get this work done, because it just won't happen. We're very lucky to have him as our mayor. So Lake Massasoit, beautiful water resource for the city of Springfield. I don't know if there's going to be this picture going around so you can see it. We're going to have to share. I didn't expect this many people today, so when you get the pictures on your side, just pass them along. But I don't know if many of you know that this area was set up by George Washington. Were you aware of that when he built the armory? So the dam, you don't see it from the road, but it is a cement block structure, brownstone structure on Allen Street. And when we were little kids, when you would go down Allen Street, you could look down into that gully, you could see the waterfall from the dam. And that's what holds all this back. So it's 192 acres of water, so it's a huge resource. And in 1938, as the mayor alluded to, that dam, the top 6 feet came off that dam, and that's what caused all that flooding in the north end, in the south end. So you can only imagine if the whole structure were to go, that would be about 10 feet deep of water. So it would create quite the havoc. And the reason, a lot of times you hear on the news, towns and communities are getting rid of their dams. That would be impossible to do just in the event of that 100-year or 200-year storm event. You need that dam to hold that water back. It's the Mill River, and it's just a huge amount of water. And we got tested this past year, this spring. The lake filled up for about a week. We had all that rain. We had an unusual amount of rain. So that, we were at ground zero because we let the water out and it filled back up. So you can see that even with the construction of the dam, why it's so important to have this dam in the city of Springfield. And it's been labeled as a high hazard dam for at least 20 plus years. And it was a moderate condition when I had started. And when the mayor got the invitation to apply for the HUD Resiliency Grant, he brought all of us, a team of people together to apply for the grant, and we found a way to include this project in that HUD Resiliency Grant, and that's why I think Mayor Sarno was so successful in working with state officials, federal officials, because they know, one, he's going to get the job done, but he brings that creativity to allow us to write these grants and get the submission. So this was $17 million. I don't remember, our department had the responsibility of writing about the grant, and then we got money for tree planting in the tornado area, and there was other resources, economic resources that came with those monies. But this was probably the most important part of that grant, was the rebuilding of the dam. So it went out to bid. We had to go through an environmental process to protect the fish and the wildlife. That's why the water, you lost your water probably a good year before the construction. And the reason it was a slow reduction of water, that way the turtles, the fish, they would have time to reacclimate to not having the water. And we actually had found a lot of turtles leaving the area trying to find new, and we captured them and we helped them find new habitats. And we're on schedule. So come May, it is our goal to put the water back up. So you should have your beautiful view back off your terrace. If there is going to be a delay, we will certainly let you know, because you never know. In the last few months of the project, they might say it'll be June or July, but right now we're being told we should expect May as the time to bring the water back up. So So I don't know if you've all gotten to see the pictures yet. I don't know where she went, well, maybe she went to make more copies. I don't know. But anyway, when you see it, it's just a picture of where the dam is in the water shop's property. And maybe if this side's looking, maybe you can ship them over to this other side. So my apologies, I didn't pick up copies. The mayor also mentioned Van Horn Dam. That was another one. That's different. That's an earthen dam. And what had happened back in the 40s and 50s, the logic was to plant trees on dams. And trees are the worst thing that you can have on an earthen dam. So when you think about that, when you have that storm event and that tree falls over, now you've got the root ball that is now exposed and that's pulled earth away. And then as the water is pushing on the dam, it can find that weakness and break through the earthen dam. So we have about 7 other earthen dams in the city. We're now, we just got another grant to study the upper Van Horn Dam, which is technically Armour Street, but that's an earthen dam. So that's just about done. I think that study will be done in June, and then we'll start knocking on doors to get that rebuilt. But as the mayor stated, if that dam, and that was very, very scary because we were getting ruts into that dam. That was right in line with the emergency room at Bay State Medical Center. We all know how critical that is for our we need Bay State Medical. And then the north end, same thing, they would have been under 10 feet of water. So these dams just amount a lot of water, and you need them because they're basically the last stop before they all empty into the Connecticut River. But there's just nowhere to store that water as it's coming down, because it's just, you think of the points of entry, and so that's why these dams are so important. We just finished a study on Breckwood Pond. That might be one dam we could take out of, we probably won't need, because that eventually goes into Lake Massasoit. So we are studying these things, we're keeping our residents safe. I know I sleep better at night, the mayor sleeps better at night knowing that these things are done. Because when we were getting those storm events, we would try to take the water down, and it was an old hydraulic system and it was not working properly. But now with these repairs, we're actually going to be able to run these dams right off of a computer laptop system. So we won't have to go down into the basement it was a big wheel that you had to turn. It took 2 guys to crank the dam down. So now it'll be all electronic, and it'll have a backup generator. And so when we know that we're going to get that big large rain, we'll let about 6 feet of water down. And when the storm event is over, then you let the water build back up again, and that's what's going to keep the city safe. So I don't know if you have any questions about the project, or yes?
With all the growth that has grown while it's been empty, what will that do to the lake bottom?
Yeah, so the environmental people said to leave it, and then that'll just be actually food and nutrients for the wildlife that live in it. So it'll decompose, but it'll provide them with the necessary habitat. So that's why we're going to push for that May startup before it starts regrowing again. And so that should work out, but we don't have to mow it or clean it up. Thank God. But the mayor would find the money if I had to do it, so. He always does.
Right here, Patrick?
Yes.
Once you close it up, how long do you think it'll take to fill?
I think it'll take about 7 days. It goes up pretty quickly. Yeah. Once you stop, it'll have nowhere to go but to back up. So about 7 to 10 days probably.
Did anybody ever walk on a trestle?
Yep.
Over here.
The mayor just had us complete a study on the trestle. It's part of the bike trail improvement. Actually, we could, maybe in a month or 2, we can give them that presentation, but it's kind of neat. It's going to connect the Mason Square neighborhood right through East Forest Park to the East Long Meadow bike trail, and the East Long Meadow community's up for the expansion. So I guess we had a question over here. Someone yelled out. Yes.
My question pertains to the quality of the water.
Yep.
When I was a freshman at Springfield College back in 1950, we had a tug-of-war across right down by where the trestle is. And needless to say, a lot of us got into the water. We were told thereafter that that was not the wisest decision in the world to make, and it has not gotten better since. Is there any provision for finding ways to make the water in the pond swimmable or otherwise usable, more intimate contact?
I'll repeat it. Yeah, so we had a good question on the water quality. He explained how when he went to Springfield College, they actually had a tug-of-war And after they all landed in the water, they were told it wasn't probably the cleanest water to have a tug-of-war race in it. So, but he survived, you know, he's living here now, so maybe there's something to that water.
By the way, we're
That's what
gonna,
we just said, he's actually 35.
when the water comes back, we're gonna recreate it, and we're gonna have you on that.
So, so a lot of in August, you see that green scum that goes on here. That's all caused by the synthetic fertilizers everyone is using on their lawn. So we have the first mayor in really America, we started an organic lawn care program. He gave me the go-ahead to do it. And we're 8 years into that program. So all of our major parks are all done with organic fertilizer. Synthetic fertilizers are destroying basically our farmland and our earth, and there's no reason for homeowners to be using synthetic fertilizer. The industry's finally caught up, and I use a product called Purely Organic. Get it on Home Depot online. It's cheaper than Scott's. And I don't use grub control. I don't use crabgrass preventer. I haven't used it in 15 years, and you don't need it. I lost 2 dogs at the age of 7 from cancer, and I think it was from the synthetic fertilizers. It's a chemical. And so we're poisoning our groundwater with this. So you think of every lawn in America that's using Scott's or these green lawn companies that spray it on the lawn, it is a chemical, and that's what causes that green scum. So this spring, the mayor and I are going on the road, and we're going to try to educate our homeowners to go organic. But we also need, this water really starts beyond Hamden. The Mill River goes through Hamden, Wilbraham. We need all of these communities to jump on. Same thing in Forest Park. Pocoosuc Brook starts out in Hamden. So we need everyone that lives in these watersheds to go organic, because we're never going to clean up the water until we do that. And it won't take much to do that if everyone takes their part. But I think we're going to be successful in convincing people to stop using synthetic
I want
fertilizer.
to say, he's, for Patrick, he's a little humble, okay? He won,
The New England was the EPA award. One of
You
the-
nominated me. so.
And he's, of all New England, he's very cutting edge. Now, when he did, I'll never forget, when he did this thing about the organic stuff, and my schedule's always hectic, he goes, Mayor, you gotta come to this project. I said, you take care of it, you take care of it. And people were enthralled by it. And he's a leader, and this is for an urban center of Springfield. And Pat has been able to do that, and we've done a lot in green too, and hit our percentage marks. And we're for an urban center, not a little town, not a little rural area, but for an urban center. So, Pat's vision and his leadership has really paid dividends, because it's not only good for the environment, what we've been able to do, it's good for the bottom line of the budget, and it helps us out. When you look at, we're beating this COVID-19 now, knock on wood, my head here, knock on wood. We were able to retrofit all our buildings, school buildings, municipal buildings, within, I'd say, months' time. Patrick's leadership, we were able to get the money to do it above ASHRAE standards, above and beyond. Air filtration, the filters, you had you'll get into the things.
We had no incidents.
And we had portable, the air carriers in there, everyone. We had people, other towns, cities and towns, of course, come to see, how did you do this? But the key to that, like with anything, you could put in all the bells and whistles, but if you don't do preventative maintenance, it's gonna come right back. And that's why he's the Wizard of Oz. So, the water, the water is gonna be back up maybe May. If something goes a little sideways, or maybe by June, July. So, I want you to be ready. Get a little sun, a little tan. Put those bathing suits on, little shorts. We're gonna have the rope pull with you. You're gonna lead off there. Maybe we'll have a little barbecue. But I'm gonna turn it back to Pat, because you might have some more questions. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to leave. I have a public safety meeting at 3 p.m. But it is so great to see everybody, the Fair and Tails College. My 4 o'clock mass, Mount Carmel. I'll be faithful, you'll always be there. All right, so to all of you, good health. God bless you all. I'm gonna turn it back to Mr. Green here, okay?
Thanks, Mayor, appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. The mayor mentioned our going green too. In the buildings, he's invested about $40 million in new boiler systems, HVAC systems, and that's why we were ready for the COVID. So we're now at 28% reduction in fuel bills because of doing those energy savings. So that's what I mean, the mayor on all fronts is doing these projects, and when you do these things, it saves money, it saves the taxpayer the money, because now we can do other things. You know, he's invested over $30 million into our parks, but he can do those investments because he's saving the money on the utility bill. So he gets it, and we're lucky that we have him as our mayor, so we're very appreciative of that.
He says it just the way I wrote it, I know.
So is there any other questions? Yes.
When I put my swimming suit on and I swim to the other end of the lake, there's a small park there with an area where you can put in a kayak or...
Yeah, Sullivan Park. We just-
Sullivan Park, thank
After
you.
Tommy Sullivan, the Marine that was killed.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
That, I don't know anything, I don't know enough about this, but it looks like it needs maintenance. It gets clogged often, is what I'm saying. Is there anything that can be done?
Right, so DPW does have a catch basin system that's failed, and they're hopefully going to, they got the money supposedly to rebuild that. Part of that grant, and we have to deal with the Conservation Commission, we have to let the areas stay natural for habitats and so forth, so we mow what we can mow, but there's 3 to 4 car parking. You can get the key at the park office if you want to take a kayak, and there was a kayak launch down that road, and there's a nice pavilion down there if you wanted to have, like, we are gonna open that up so you can get more of a water view from the pavilion. So we also have a great program with the Sheriff's Department, and they're gonna help us debrush that. So we'll go from side, was there anything on this side? Yep. I'll repeat the question.
Back in the day, they used to have all the houses built along there, except the system, which were empty in the lake.
Right.
Does that program put in a safe system?
I believe it is. There might be 1 or 2 of the old lake houses off of Island Pond, maybe. But I think the majority, if not all of them, have been put on city sewer. Good question. Now we'll go this side.
I know you worked hard with Mr. Charlie Johnson. I want to be sure that I understand that when the water enters this lake, it moves through within 2 weeks. So it's pretty decent flow.
Yes,
Is that true?
that is true.
Just imagine what Mr. George Washington did, what he saw.
Yeah, yeah. You can just imagine them back on horseback, picking out the spot. Yes.
Lake Massasoit, as it's known as in some places, I guess, is a nice thing to have next to our property. And it's a pleasure to look at water like that from the building here. I think it's an attraction for us as residents to have that as a neighbor. But one of the problems is, my understanding, and I've been here 9 years and I've heard this over that time, is we're restricted in even trimming some of the trees between the building and the water. I would like to see us open that up more for a better view, and also maybe have a more meaningful access at the water's edge. Maybe a small, little dock or something for residents who are fishermen and so forth.
Yep.
So we could use it more.
Good question. So the comment was how the lake is a great asset to your building here and to how you all enjoy it. And the resident would like to improve that access, improve the visibility down to the lake. So good question. So what we can try to do is work with you, Kevin Chafee, who's in charge of the Conservation Commission. He would do a field visit, and we can talk to your staff here of, we use GZA a lot, environmental, there's other environmental companies, but they kind of, to be honest, I think they kind of get it. So, you know, maybe, I think they would offer just to come here to give you some pointers, and then from there, you could see how that could be accomplished. Maybe we could use one of our sheriff crews if it wasn't an extensive way to open that up. And then as far as putting, I don't know where your boundary of the water is, but if you own right up to the water, you could explore that deck option with the management of the complex. But I'll give you my information and we can talk about how we can make that happen. So now I'm gonna flip over to this side, we'll try to do one from each side. Is there any more questions on this side? Yes?
What did you actually do to the dam?
We rebuilt it, so we had to add more structure to it, reinforcement to it. We had to repoint it. The top 3 feet was completely removed, a whole new hydraulic system. And like I said, it's gonna be a computerized hydraulic system. And then upgrades to that mechanical room that will operate the dam. So it was, I think it was about a $6 million project at the end of the day. So it wasn't cheap, but again, we're very successful. We're getting state and federal grants, and you know, thank God we are. We'll be able to operate the dam as it was originally. So there'll be that top sluice gate and then the bottom one. So if there's going to be a huger event coming, we can open up that bottom sluice gate to let the water out, to get it out faster, and again, just to keep everyone safe. When you see on the news, there's probably been 3 in the last just 2 years across the country where the dams have let go, and there was a bad one, I think it was over in Germany. So that's why we really, thank God we got the money to do this when we did, because I think it was maybe a year or so off from that happening here. But when they don't operate the dams, and you've got to let the water out, that's why, you know, the proper operation of a dam. So now we'll be able to do that during these storm events. And our time is coming where we're going to get, we had it last spring, we had a ton of rain.
One more question. How about the fish? All the fish that used to be there, you said they're
Yep.
found their way and gone.
Sure.
How do we get them back?
Yep, so we're working with our local Mass DEP, and they're going to actually restock it this spring. So they're actually hatching the fish as we speak. So, and that's a busy fishing spot in the city. Yes?
Is Springfield doing anything to change energy consumption to more sustainable energy as compared to fossil fuels?
Yep, so the question was on energy and going off of fossil fuels and sustainability. So one of the, and I know natural gas isn't considered a sustainable long-term, but it's much cleaner than oil. We got out of the oil business in the city, so we're using natural gas. Where appropriate, the solar energy, in my opinion, in New England for large buildings just hasn't caught up yet. There needs to be. So we're buying solar credits. We have about $200,000 a year in savings from the solar credits that we've purchased. And we put a solar hot water tank in at Indian Orchard Fire Station, so we're exploring those more across the city. So we're waiting for kind of the technology to catch up for New England type weather. We have cloudy days, so in the winter, solar just doesn't work well enough here for the amount of power we need for our buildings, but wherever possible. But going over to the natural gas was really brought down our carbon footprint substantially. Yes?
I have one more question. Those beautiful factories at the other end, where you cleaned up all the Hickory Street, you cleaned up the Hickory Street area, it looks wonderful, where the new schools are. It's really lovely. Were those built by George Washington under his direction? And did I read somewhere that someone has purchased 1 or 2 of them and is going to restore them? That's
I don't know, I'm not a true historian, so I don't know what was done by George Washington other than the siding of the armory. So, and then I heard the same thing, that they have someone bought it, they want to put new windows and restore the property. So I don't think that's formally been announced, but I've heard the same rumor. So her question was on the old foundry buildings that someone bought them and so forth. So yes.
I was pleased to hear the answer to the fact that you were going to leave the vegetation in there. It wasn't what I expected, but I understand. There are, however, several trees that have toppled over from the edge of the pond and are laying down in it. It would make sense to me that those trees at least be removed before we get the water back.
Yeah, so another good question, and I agree with the question, but you'll be surprised at the answer. So the question was about the trees that have fallen in, and wouldn't it be a great time to take them out? And we asked the same question, but the Conservation Commission feels those are habitat areas now. So the turtles live under them, the fish feed off of them or swim in them. So there was a select few trees we were allowed to remove under the bridge abutment. Because of boating and so forth, but all the other ones had to be remained. So, yes.
How about the tires?
Yeah, the tires have been removed, the old cars have been removed, the microwaves have been removed. So maybe we should have had you guys go put tires on the trees, and then we could have taken them up with that. Is there a question on this side?
There's actually, last time I went down there, there's tires here.
Well, good to know, and we will do another review of that. So thank you for that information. We'll bring the contractor back and scope out this end of it. Question on this side? Question on this side? Looks like I'm done. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure being here, and we would love to come back again. We could give you more information about the energy savings and whatever else that you want to know about the city. So thank you all for having us.